Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I have a wave motion cannon right for you here.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Space Battleship Yamato, which came out in 2010 from director Takashi Yamazaki. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story in Space Battleship Yamato follows the ship Battleship Yamato. It has been tasked with heading to the planet Ecuador to find a radiation device to save the Earth. The Earth is under attack at the moment from the evil alien race, the Gamelas, who are subjecting the Earth to a bombardment of radioactive meteorites. The battleship has to head there and try to save the Earth.
I went into this knowing next to nothing about this property.
Yeah.
That's hugely successful and massively influential in almost every kind of sci-fi that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
You know, this is before Alien. This is before Star Wars and before Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
There was Space Battleship Yamato.
Yeah.
Space Battleship Yamato originally came out in 1974 as an animated TV series.
Yeah.
It was eventually relaunched in 2012.
Right.
And it was renamed Space Battleship Yamato 2199,
Yeah.
which was the year that it's also set in. Over here in the UK, the name was changed and quite a few scenes from the series were omitted as it was all being dubbed in English.
Yeah.
And we would all know this TV show as Star Blazers. And for a lot of people, that was also the gateway into Japanese manga and Japanese animation, because Star Blazers, even though it is Space Battleship Yamato,
Yeah.
it's, you know, they replaced all of the beverages that were beer in the original and turned it into like pop drinks.
Okay.
So, you know, they really did water it down for the overseas sort of distribution, but they also cut out a lot of the death sequences, or
Yeah.
they changed suicide kamikaze missions into different missions with the dubbing. So they really did butcher it quite a bit, but that didn't stop fans discovering the original show as a result of this. And the original Battleship Yamato did run its course to its own conclusion.
Yeah.
And this live action adaptation really does borrow from the original anime instead of the relaunched animation.
I'd heard of the name, but never delved into it. I mean, there's a lot of anime out there. There's a lot of manga, and as time progresses, more of it keeps getting changed into brand new, updated series, films, games, comic books, and then so many people are on my back when I'm just, hearing about it now. People are like, "Oh no, it comes from this in the back core story back in the day," and "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," Ian. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, sometimes I don't. I just kind of ramble. But when we got requested to do this, I was like, okay, I'm gonna Wikipedia it like I normally do, and I looked at the back history, and I'm like, okay, original series 74 to 75, then it goes into manga, then there's movies after this before we even get to the updated relaunch in 2010, and I'm just like, wow, this, like Gary said, must have influenced so many Western writers and directors that a lot of the stuff I know as good sci-fi actually all stemmed from this one show.
Yes, yeah.
It happened before with, Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress is the big example for it being turned into Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, I like The Hidden Fortress, but I also like Star Wars because of the pew 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 pew. I like lasers and spaceships and big battleships in space. So hearing about this show, about a battleship which is heading off into deepest, darkest space, looking for a radiation device to help save the Earth. Running into this updated one, which was released in 2010, you know what's going to happen. I don't think I could have actually stepped into this film not knowing what was going to happen unless I didn't know sci-fi or actually any kind of space opera. I suppose, what you'd consider it.
Okay, I mean, I going straight into this film, having no experience with the wider material around it. I watched this film not even knowing really what it was based on or adapted from or how successful any of it was. I just watched the film without knowing anything other than it was a sci-fi.
Yeah.
And immediately, I'm just getting the feel of this recreating, in a sense, World War II. There is a lot of there is a lot of symbolism, and the characters even reference World War II a couple of times.
Well,
I mean, even the space battleship Yamato is named after a World War II
battleship from the Battle of Midway.
Well, I mean, the actual Yamato was at the Battle of Midway, but it didn't fire any guns. It kind of didn't get involved in the fight, but it was there.
Yeah.
And it was eventually sent on a one-way mission to go to Okinawa, defend the island from the Allied invasion, beach yourself and die fighting the Allied invasion. Unfortunately, the actual Yamato was sunk by an Allied submarine. It never actually got there, and nearly all of the crew was lost.
But I mean, obviously, we can gather that the original anime cartoonist, the guy who got the idea behind it, he took the elements from World War II.
Yes, definitely.
And
it's a big influence.
Yeah, and just kind of retold it. But at the same time, in this film, there are certain parts where I'm sat there like, you couldn't really sell this to Western audiences.
1945年4月、戦艦ヤマトは絶望の中に残されたほんのわずかな希望のために出撃した。
Well, you can see why in the cartoon version they would change quite a few things because it's
But at the same time, I got a lot of. I think another reviewer said this. I got a lot of Battlestar Galactica. This.
Yes, yeah.
The remake Battlestar Galactica mainly, just the darker tone and the kind of relationships that are going on between some of the characters. I mean, our main character is Takuya Kimura, who plays Kodai or Cody. He's your ace pilot. You hear about his backstory where he suffered a tragic event when he was like the best pilot in the whole of the Earth. Well, mainly the Japanese defense fleet. We don't actually see any of the rest of the world.
No.
The rest of the world is under radiation, but we just know that Japan is doing most of the work. And Kodai is... He's living on Earth at this point, and he's just scavenging for metal. But he's also trading with his brother, who is the commanding officer of another battleship, which is, at the start of the movie, fighting the Gamelas out by Mars. And the Gamelas, their defenses are just fucking top notch. We basically just watched this massive Japanese fleet of ships get annihilated. And Kodai's brother contacts Tsutomi Yamazaki's character, Okita. Sorry, my Japanese is not on board today. He contacts Captain Okita and says to him, "You've got to get back to Earth. If we all get wiped out now, there's no defense for Earth, and I'm going to sacrifice myself for this." And Okita is just like, "No, you've got more jobs." But there's no convincing Kodai's brother. He's going to give his life to try and protect his brother who's still on Earth. But then once the ship returns to Earth, we see Kodai go outside of his scrapyard home, and he's almost crushed by a meteorite.
Yeah.
But he survives because this device inside it is stopping the radiation. And that's what will go to the captain and give him the information to say, look, we need to head out there.
And that's really where the story cut. That's the basis for the rest of the plot of the film.
Yeah.
Where they tool up the Yamato for this, what would appear as a one-way trip.
Yeah.
Because all of the senior officers are just like, the Earth is doomed. Radiation is going to wipe us all out. You know, some experts say we might have a couple of years, but really, in all honesty, we have months at best.
Yeah.
So we're going to send this ship out as a last bastion of hope for mankind.
But we also kind of need to convince people to help us. So how do we convince people to give their lives one more time in a one-way, no-hope mission? Or we'll lie to them, like any good government.
Yeah, but again, drawing the parallels to Battlestar Galactica, you know, it's the search to find Earth, and Adama's like, I know where it is, and I'm going to take us there. He has no idea where it is, and he has no idea how to get there, and that's how this also feels. So I'm seeing the influences in the shows that I love. You know, I'm seeing them at an earlier time. It's kind of like a magic, really.
That's what I found. I was just like, wow, 1974, the original Space Battleship comes out, and then 4 years later, the original Battlestar Galactica comes out, and I'm like, I kind of need to buy both of these on DVD just to jump back and forth, just to go space battles, because that's really what you're here for. You want the ship out in space, and I loved that first reveal when it kind of smashed it out of the Earth.
Yeah,
I know the graphics don't look great. A lot of people will probably say, "Well, it looks a bit shit now," but I go with the fact that it's 8 years old already, and
I think it was a TV production company that put the film together. It was also 6 years, I believe, in pre-production.
Wow.
Before they actually got filming. And even when they had completed filming, the main actor looked at some of the stuff and was just like, he was horrified. He was like, the special effects in this are really bad.
Yeah.
So he took a big pay cut and said, okay, instead of paying me this much, pay me this much, and put all the rest of that money into revamping these special effects to make them at least look better than what they are.
Yeah.
And so some of the shots of the spaceship itself looks fantastic. Like, you look at, since watching the film, if you go and look at some of the anime and then look at the shots that they've replicated from the show in this film, and it's like, if you were a big fan of the anime, this would be like a wet dream. Seeing your ship in full CGI looking gorgeous. Yeah. But then there are scenes and effects later in the film that you're just like, oh. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to those bits, but when it first emerges from the ground and all the rocks are dropping, the rocks look a bit shit, but it's the fact that they are like, okay, we've got this badass engine on this ship which allows us to warp jump, but we've also made this wave motion cannon. Okay, what does that do? Well, it points out the front of the ship, and Kato, who has taken it upon himself to enlist back on board the Yamato, is, well, I love the fact that he walks on board and they're like, okay, so what history have you got? Well, I was like the ace pilot. I've got a jacket. You don't have to tell me where to go. I know where the bunks are. And I'm like, this guy's literally just walking on board and going, I'm in charge.
戦闘班班長民間人のあなたがどうして
服隊したのでもう民間人ではありませんそれとそれ結構です慣れ親しんだやつがありますんで
He gets promoted to bridge officer.
And then it's just like, you're in charge of the gun because there is nobody as good as you.
Well, there's everyone else is dead. All the other spaceships are destroyed.
Yeah, okay, I could go with that. But it's like, there's no mystery behind it. This guy is the hero, okay? He might as well have hero written across his head. Because when he sits down in front of that gun and he's counting, everybody is on the edge of their seats. You know, they're worried. What are they worried about? This guy's not going to fucking miss. Not with his gun. Now, Gary and I discussed this before we started recording, and we know that it was in the original anime that there was a gun in a desk or computer compartment that would
with a trigger
that the guy would hold and trigger with. But I couldn't shake the fact that the cannon itself is on the front of the Yamato. So the Yamato has to point forward at whatever it's targeting. It's not like this thing can really miss, because even if it does, its explosive damage is so fucking massive. Fleets of ships are destroyed in one swath.
Yeah. But they have a problem with that energy weapon is because it uses the same energy that they use to warp.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when they do warp into new territory, they've got to wait 20 minutes to power up either the warp drive or wait 20 minutes to power up the main weapon.
Yeah. Which I'm like, it's cool, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, but when you're in the ship, you know, you need two things working differently, please.
Well, it gets to the first major confrontation that they have, and they jump into the first section of space.
Yeah.
And immediately they're attacked.
Immediately.
And so, of course, they launch fighters, and they only really have so many fighters as well. And so they launch the Black Tiger Fighter Squadron to go and deactivate or to take out the warp engines of the enemy ships.
Yeah. Now, did the fighter pilots take any engines out?
No, they flew in close enough to target all of the things so that the
Right.
Yamato could fire its main
Yamato.
batteries
Yeah.
at those ships. And it's pretty devastating, you know, the explosions. I just love watching all those cannons on the spaceship firing.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
sound in space, explosions in space.
Well, I don't care. I wanted to know more about the mystery when the warp drive seemed to activate on the Gallimimus ship.
Yeah.
And it was kind of sucked into it, and then it took out the rest of the fleet. And I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And the character of Mori, played by Meisa Kuroki, who's kind of just the female counterpart to Kado, you know, love interest is going to pop up at some point. You know, she even questions it. She's like, wow, I've never seen one do that before. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's no investigation. So at that point, I'm kind of like, ooh, would this be a better TV series?
Yeah, you know, to pace it out and to give you more explanation, a bit more character.
Yeah.
You know, this is, obviously it's a 2-hour, sort of 15-minute film that is condensing down so many episodes and story.
And characters and themes.
Characters, yes, absolutely. So that it does feel a little bit rushed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that some of the acting can be really, really melodramatic and a bit lacking in some parts.
Now, answer me this, okay? I'm going to question you and the audience. Now, do Japanese actors water down their acting so that Western audiences will understand it? Or do they actually act like that, slightly dramatically over the top? Because it just seems some of the people in this film, especially when things happen, get so excitable that...
Yeah.
We are so happy, and I'm like, oh, I get that they're happy. They've just wiped out a fleet, and they're still alive, and they're carrying on this mission. But when you reflect it back to some of the darker, depressing scenes, where, like for example, Kaido and Okita have this whole relationship where obviously Okita had left Kaido's brother to die. Well, that's what Kaido believes, and Okita obviously has to instill to Kaido the wisdom that comes with years of experience of being in command and sending people to their deaths. And it's really, really good. But at the same time, some of the acting from Okita kind of made it seem silly. And I was like, has he been watching too much Edward James Olmos? You know, has he been watching too much Kirk to come across like that? Or Kaido, is he overreacting as the hero because he loved his brother so much?
第三環境全員退避
間に合いません
ヤマトが蒸発するぞ
エネルギー値限界です
来ない
I mean, what do you think?
I thought the captain and Kaido were probably the two best actors in the film. Actually, I thought a lot of the other the bad performances came from everybody else. The actress playing Yuki Mori, she was okay for the most part. She was also pretty easy on the eye.
Yeah.
But she also fell into the whole melodramatic stuff, especially at the end of the film, where I was just like, "Oh, come on,
Yeah,
just get over this bit now."
She started off as a badass boomer / Starbuck kind of character. You know, this ace pilot who's taking no shit, punching people in the face, and then towards the end, it was kind of like watching Princess Leia all over again. And I'm like, shift. I mean, one of the most awkward ones was Ando.
そうだよ安藤なんだ乗ってたんだ
はい
第三環境キムです
He's not anywhere near a main character. He literally just stops Kaido in the middle of the corridor and says, "Hey, Mr. Kaido, yeah, I really love your work. I think you're awesome at killing aliens and we're going to kick ass." And Kaido's like, "Who are you?" And Ando's like, "Oh, it's me. Oh, yeah, I recognize you, Ando. Yeah, you're pretty awesome." Well, Kaido, I'll be on bridge number 3. I've promised my parents I'm coming back alive. And, we're watching it with subtitles, and I literally paused the movie and went, "You're dead, mate."
You just signed it yourself, yeah.
Just signed it yourself.
被害状況は
第三環境との接合部が損傷
何か閉じ込められてます
エレベーターシャフトが破壊されたようです小田井さん安藤です閉じ込められました怪我人もいます
エネルギー反応急激に上昇爆発します。
第三環境全員退
It is kind of, action-y and dramatic and cool looking when Bridge 3 gets taken out. But it's like, we got taken out by this stealth ship. Where did it come from? I don't know. And Mori is left with destroying Bridge 3 before it obviously takes out the rest of the ship. They don't further explain where the stealth weapons come from or how this thing got past the radar. And Kaido is kind of upset that he's just committed 6 people to die, but he goes and speaks to Okuta, and Okuta's just like, "Yeah, well, it happens.
Comes with command.
You're in command. You can't quit because literally there's nobody else. We can't have anybody
Well, it's because
else."
he also it's the reverse of what happened earlier when Mori was her ship was damaged.
Yes,
and
yeah.
he wanted to go out there and rescue her, but the captain was like, "No, you can't go and rescue her. We're going to jump before we get destroyed because of the incoming attack," and goes out there and rescues her anyway.
The fucking Cosmo Zero. What a badass ship. You see him bombing towards her, and then all of a sudden it just fucking bends in half and grabs her with its little arms and flies all the way back. I'm like, why doesn't everybody's ship do that?
Good question.
Some of the other characters I did really like as well. I mean, you have your traditional science officer, engineer, navigator, head of security.
Didn't you think that the engineer looked a little bit like Scotty?
Yes, a cross between Scotty and Tiro.
Yeah.
I like the way he walks into the fucking the jail and he's looking at Kaido and he's just like, "You and the captain are so much alike. I've seen both of you, grown up with both of you. The two of you are just clashing heads." And then the Doctor walked in. Now, we previously seen the Doctor in a couple of scenes where the ship is, under attack. They're being attacked by aliens. She stood in the corridor holding a cat and a bottle of sake, I believe. And she's just stumbling back and forth, like, "Ah!" But then she meets up with the engineer and Kaido, and they just, "Do you want a drink? Yeah, let's just sit down and drink." And they just sit there in the brig and drink. But it got me there. I knew these characters weren't really going to survive.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, that kind of filled me with a bit of sadness.
Well, actually, watching the film, I had no idea he was going to survive, and his characters keep getting killed off. It was like, oh, we're going to keep killing off characters. Okay.
Yeah. One of my other favourites was Sato, played by Hiroyuki Ikuchi. He was one that I started to warm to because you just got this kind of... Well, he kept turning up when Kaido first came on board, but you didn't really know who he was. He's just this security guy with a gun. But then when you saw him talking to his mum, when they had the minute-long transmissions to Earth before they left the solar system, really liked those bits. Especially Kaido's navigator friend, Sanada, who was talking to his son.
Yeah.
That kind of warmed me, especially Sato's mum, who's like, "Have you got your amulet to stop bullets?" And he's like, "I've got it here, mum. I'll be fine." And I'm like, man, Sato's gonna die, man. Sato's gonna die.
Yeah. It is a great sequence when Cody's in there, and obviously, he has no family left. All of his family is dead, and so he just kind of talks to Analyzer.
The Analyzer.
His pocket AI, essentially.
I want one.
Apparently, the voice that played the Analyzer was the same voice from the original 1970s show as well.
Wow,
so
nice.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of R2.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just cool that the thing actually emoted back to him and wasn't just like a droll, dead computer voice.
He also plugs it into his ship at some point as well. So it's like,
And I mean, we're reflected at the same time with that when Sanada is explaining to Yuki the back history. You know, Cody was the best pilot and he only quit because we stopped the missile from hitting the Earth, but it rebounded and flew into a space station that killed both of Cody's parents and my pregnant wife at the time. But they saved my son, but he doesn't speak. And I'm like, damn, man, fuck.
Yeah, that's a pretty harsh and miserable war-torn existence this universe is in.
And that immediately melts Yuki's heart then.
Yeah.
And they have their little love moment mid-warp jump, which is symbolic if you look at it. But so many of the jumps just kind of jumped into what I would only consider like the start of an episode. You know, they jumped out of the solar system, they got into a big battle. They jumped out of there again, they ended up picking up a damaged fighter.
Yeah.
Which was like a little event. I mean, the crystalline energy creature came out of it.
That's right. Out of the creature that they'd killed.
Yeah.
And then it flew and attached itself to Saito, and he kind of got possessed.
Yeah.
And started talking nonsense until he got tasered, essentially, and they released the creature and then they blew it away.
Yeah, they shot the shit out of it. And I was like...
Okay. And Saito was fine after that.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, right. So we've established what the Gamilers want.
Yeah.
They want to now... they don't want to... They not only want to wipe out the human race, they actually want to terraform the planet into this
radiation
atmosphere
zone,
for them. And but then the ship gives out signals towards another passing fleet, so they've immediately got to chuck the ship out and blow it up and fly away. But as soon as they jump, they're then caught up in another issue, and then they jump again and they get to Ikador, the planet they're heading to, and the Gamilers are there, and I'm like, fuck me, these guys really just did not have a real chance from the start.
No, it was a pretty brutal moment, you know, because it was a case of they were pretty much wiped out.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
They did the evasive maneuvers as the kamikaze ships came flying at them.
Yeah.
You know, they rolled, and then it was a case of, you know, we can't power up the main weapon because it's just been plugged up by this other thing.
各部被害状況を伝えろ。艦長代理、波動砲がどうした？方向が塞がれました。
And so it was a case of, you know, blind jump.
Yeah.
Or just sit here and just, you know, fight till the end.
Luckily, the blind jump only jumped onto the other side of the planet.
Yeah. It's like, space is pretty vast. Like, that was one hell of a calculation.
It could have gone anywhere. We've gone to the other side of our objective.
And the aliens can't find them.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? Are you hiding from them on the other side of the planet?
Well, like you said, space is a really big place. They've got to
So
look
they were
all
deciding to look everywhere
four-dimensionally.
else. And so that's where they decide to come up with a mission. Again, you know, a one-way mission almost, essentially, to go to this planet and find out if they even have an anti-radiation device, considering that this planet consists of the enemy.
Yeah, and it's completely irradiated. So without even being told, you're like, well, this has to be the Gamilers' home planet.
Yeah.
Because there's a massive fleet outside. The terrain and atmosphere is suitable for only them. But it's at this point where Kaido has explained to the rest of the crew, or literally the main characters that are still alive, that Okuta had been lying to them about this radiation device. There was no radiation device. They just had to try. They had been given the coordinates, they'd been given the engines, they'd been given the weapon, and been told to come to Ikador. So he had to convince people to come. When they get down to the planet, I mean, it's just massively dramatic, action-oriented right now until towards the end of the movie, where they lead this one-way mission, and Kaido in his Cosmo Zero is like, right, I'll target all the anti-air batteries as we fly down. The transport will come down with the security crew. How are we going to take out the ships? Well, we're going to fucking... Did Battlestar steal the idea from this, or did this steal the idea from Battlestar? Because when Yamato
There's no Battlestar at this point in time.
Yeah, but
I guess
when
there's the
Yamato
remake,
came in the atmosphere and came down, blasting all the ships, I wanted to see the Galactica again.
Yeah.
I wanted to see her drop in orbit through Caprica, but it was so cool. You know, I was on the edge of my seat, like fucking yeah, and then they land, and there's thousands of these weird looking
energy-like creatures. They reminded me of the creatures from Titan AE.
Yeah, they're just firing plasma. That was kind of cool, you know, their whole driving sequence, trying to battle everything while they're going.
It looked cool, but you know, I mean, I was with the film up until this point, but if you just look at it, it is ugly as hell.
Yeah.
It is so cheap. It was like you can see that this is where the money kind of dried up.
Yeah.
To do this entire alien planet, to do all these alien creatures, it looks really bad. It looks really bad by, 2010 standards. You know, even the late 90s had some better CGI than this.
Yeah.
So it really does let it down when it gets to the planet. But at least the action and the characters, if you're still invested with them at this point, it's enough to carry you to its end.
That's it. I mean, we already said that the film was struggling with budget issues anyway, and I felt like it needed to be a TV series. If they'd been episodic, you know, you'd be on the fucking edge of your seats regardless of what this looked like. But you've been sat there for at least an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes, and now you've got this battle sequence which kind of looks like a computer game sequence.
Oh yeah.
But the characters are interacting so well with everything that's going on. It's keeping the pace going, and you're just watching guys get killed left and right. People who had no names or no characters but were just in the background, you're feeling bad for because they're just...
They keep holding the line and letting everybody else keep advancing whilst they hold off as many aliens as they can until they're eviscerated.
Yeah, but you're now down to your last four. The Doctor, Saito, Yuki, and Kaido, and they come across the kind of heart of the Gamala's planet.
What? Yuki!
And it turns out that this thing is Ikador. And we're told that the creatures that are the Gamalas and the Ikador are the same creature, but two different sides. One, the Gamalas want to stay alive and go off and destroy humanity and take over their planet. And the other side, Ikador, actually just wants to die because they've had their time.
Yeah, and their home planet is dying.
Yeah.
And so they're, resigned to just die with their planet, whereas their other half is,
Yeah, and I'm like, right, okay, so what the fuck do we do now then? Because we still got to save the Earth. We've got to get back. But Saito and the Doctor, they're like, we're going to sacrifice ourselves to destroy this core. And Saito, like I said, was my favorite when he stood there with his two fucking machine guns, and he's just firing away at everything, and he's got his amulet out on his chest. You feel a bit of sadness when you just see him stood there and he's dead, and his body just falls back.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Doctor doing his whole sacrificial moment.
He placed all the bombs, and then he steps out as well, and
just
same fate. Yeah.
boom, takes out
But
the
that
planet.
smile he gives, just before.
Yeah. Yuki and Kaido jump back aboard Yuki's ship. They get back to the Yamato and the cannon's still blocked. There's like fucking 36 crew members left, including the main guys. And they jump all the way back to Earth. Once they get back to Earth, they are confronted by a massive, huge Gamala's spaceship piloted by Desla, who we'd already been introduced to when they brought the fighter ship aboard. I suppose him and Ikador were like, the main opposites. Desla was the one in control, and he says, right, you killed my people, you destroyed my planet, so fuck yeah, I'm going to drop this massive bomb on the Earth. And obviously the crew cannot shoot it with the cannon because it's blocked, so they come up with the plan of ramming it. And it was quite emotional, but it wasn't exactly unpredictable about how this was going to play out. Kaido is the captain Okuta has passed at this point from... Do you even know what killed Okuta?
It was a cancer of some kind,
It's
or
of some kind.
some illness, yeah.
I put it down to radiation as well, but it's
Radiation,
like,
yeah.
You know, they just said, oh, whatever your pills you're taking is not stopping it. I'm like, what?
It didn't matter.
Yeah. Okuta has passed, and most of the crew has passed, and so Kaido says, right, pass me the controls, I'm going to fly the ship straight into the bomb. And everyone's like, no! I'll stay with you. Yuki doesn't want to leave his side, but he needs Yuki to go to Earth because she has the Ikadorian alien thing inside her to help destroy the radiation.
Yeah.
You know, Sanada wants to stay with Kaido, but he needs Sanada to fly the ship with all the survivors on. The Doctor's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. You know, with my cat. The cat survived, which was awesome. And you're just left with Kaido just doing his hero moment.
Yeah, I like the bit where the ship flies past and they can see each other through the windows.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But the whole sequence with Cody and Yuki in the bridge, you know, and it gets to the point where he has to taser her
He's gonna fucking taser her to get her to
and
go.
wait for his pilot to come back up and take her out. It's just like... You know, there's melodrama and then there's Space Battleship Yamato.
Yeah, what about the fucking Star Wars sequence where he's looking at he's got the cannon there. He can't fire it. I mean, but he's
still got to pull the trigger.
He's got to pull the trigger to make the explosion go off to destroy the bomb. But you know, all of his friends are there, and Akira and his brother, and
all the ghosts
fucking
of
Yoga,
them,
and fucking Godzilla, and fucking everybody. Buddha was there. Everybody. There was like a fucking whole party going on, and he's just like, "I'll see you in a minute," and then it's like, boom.
And the film ends with the explosion.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, okay, you know, the credits start rolling. It's like, okay, like, did they win?
I assume they win.
As the credits were coming up, you see Yuki on Earth, and it's all green.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, so that's, you know, as the credits are going up, that's all you get, really.
And you see the boy as well, who you kind of assume should be Kaido's, you know, son if they had sex while they were traveling through
the warp. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine so, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah.
It's also how Space Battleship Yamato ended in 1983. The episode was called Final Yamato.
Really?
And him ramming it into the enemy ship at the end is actually how the whole Space Battleship Yamato ends.
I went online and I watched the last episode, and it was the captain. The captain who does it in the anime series, and it's Cody who's watching him, and I was like, well, that's kind of a cool twist. You kind of had to make it your own and bring it to a newer generation. So make a few changes. Yeah, make the badass pilot it, but have him, you know, have this nice relationship with the captain, father son kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
2 1 Yuki.
So, for favourite sequences in the film, I've really got to be honest and say it was just the space battles.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the space battles. I like watching the people in the bridge flow themselves around.
Yeah.
You know, I like the idea that when, you know, they had to turn the ship and
roll
move it, or roll the ship to dodge the missiles. I thought that was great. And it made me laugh that, you know, inside they don't have any internal dampeners.
No.
So they need to stable and tie everything down, because when they spin, they feel it in their seats. So it's like, oh, that's different. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, favourite sequences would be the battle sequence. I guess the best battle sequence was when Bridge 3 does get hit and they have the whole, you know, the tough decision of being able to cut them off and destroying them so that they save the ship. But yeah, that's probably the highlight of the film for me there.
I've got a few. My first one was the Doctor checking on Cody and saying to him, like, you know, you're a pilot. And him going, yeah, don't worry, I've got my own jacket, I know where I'm going. And I was just like, wow, this guy's a bit of a badass. I love the bit where the Yamato came out the Earth. It just, you know, really...
It's a great shot.
Over dramatic, you know, this massive ship coming out, its cannons all bearing, getting ready to destroy this missile. Mori going solo and going after the warp ships herself and just fucking set. I thought they had fired, and it made me question why the fighters hadn't done that in the opening sequence.
Right, yeah.
But now, yeah, they targeted everything for the Yamato, and then the Yamato had fired and caused the explosion. The Doctor and the cat stumbling around the corridors. I didn't understand why she was just carrying this cat and this bottle of sake. You know, when she could have been in the medical bay, you know, keeping all the stuff from falling out the cupboards. That would have been funnier. But she just seemed to be carrying this cat everywhere. And it seemed like, I think Cody actually said, "Oh, look, a cat. Like, it's the only one alive on the whole planet."
Could be.
The family messages was really emotional, just kind of made you get in with more of these characters who were going to come up later on. But at the same time, like I said, if it'd been episodic, maybe you could have just had one whole episode where, you know, every minute is a different character trying to talk to their family and before they go off on their one-way mission. When they fire that fucking wave motion cannon, when they fire the gunship, they're just like, "There's a gunship coming! Fire the cannon!" Right, the fleet's gone. There was a fleet with that gunship? Yeah, don't worry, it's gone now. It's gone. And it leads towards the end. The whole end sequence was pretty badass. That battle sequence on the planet was really good. But when Kaido was accepting command, and so he calls the crew and tells them all that he's now accepted the command and he wants them all to work with each other, but we are all working for Captain Okita. And it cuts to the captain in his bed, and the captain just goes, "Oh," and just kind of Riley salutes, like, "Really? Why did you have to drag me into it?" It's just like,
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah,
it's just like, you're the captain. But anything with the ship itself, the ship itself looked absolutely beautiful. You know, you always want the futuristic look of spaceships.
sometimes yes.
But you like the steampunk mixture of taking something you easily recognise from present day and just slapping a big fucking engine on it.
I like that it has this massive energy beam, but it also has turrets, you know, and,
Yeah.
and the soldiers have guns, you know. It has that flavour that I like in Battlestar,
Yes.
where it's not all phasers and things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do like that. I do find it really quite difficult, though, I think, to recommend Space Battleship Yamato from 2010.
Okay.
I feel like it's, at the end of the day, it's a little bit lackluster. Whether it's the fact that it is, you know, like a $22 million-ish budget or below.
Right.
I'm not quite sure on that one. But the budget definitely hurt it for the epicness that it was going for.
Yes.
But, you know, if you're a fan of sci-fi, this would, you know, and you're not big into manga or anime or, you know, the Japanese world of cinema.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting sort of gateway into it, especially if you're coming from someone who likes Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and things like that.
Yeah.
This you know, go and explore this one next, and then if this, you know, satiates your curiosity, then maybe go and look at the TV series as well from 1974.
Yeah.
And then maybe look at the reimagined version of the show. Then use that as a stepping stone into more Japanese anime, because for me, there is so much of it. It is difficult to decide what you're actually going to invest your time into watching.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of this film, I'm curious now about going back and watching the TV series and just seeing this, you know, these sci-fi stories get told again.
Yeah, I do recommend it, but you know, you can only recommend it on specific levels. If you're a fan of anime and manga, but you've never seen Space Battleship Yamato, go watch it. It's one of the better ones, maybe the best one. I don't know, but it's really fucking good. If you like sci-fi, but like Gary says, you don't watch anime, check this out. Fucking space battles, spaceships, the melodrama and the overacting, that comes part and parcel with spaceships, like sci-fi things. But you want to see this fucking ship firing its cannons, you know, and Gamala's getting blown to fuck up. I couldn't recommend it to everybody, because I know that there are people out there who would say, "Oh, I don't like sci-fi," so you won't get anything from this. But if you watch Star Trek, Battlestar, you know, Star Wars on a level, if you love World War II, you know, you might really like the ship. And like Gary said, you might notice the themes of the Japanese attacking these invading aliens with these devastating weapons. It's all there. I personally would like to go back and watch the original series, but I think I'll save it for maybe a Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, wake up with my cereal and just catch a couple of episodes.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Love gives and love takes. Yeah, it'll keep you up in the middle of the night and catch you when you're falling. Love is what love makes. If you let it go,
What?
ワープします